Montelongo here. Welcome. Wednesday afternoon live broadcast. I'm here with Jeff Yalden. Remember a couple of weeks ago we tried to interview each other. I tried to interview you and my technology sucked because I have no technological skills. Anyway, welcome. 1 o'clock Wednesday. It's actually 2 o'clock on Wednesday live podcast. So there's a bunch of random stuff here this afternoon. Are you good? Can you see?
I'm good.
Are you all pretty?
Yeah, I'm Paul. I'm always pretty, even off camera.
Okay, good. We know this about you. Did you share yet? Are you going to share?
Not yet. I can. Okay, good.
So if you're on the podcast, if you're on the live, share with your friends. Lincoln, how in the world are you? Good to see you again. Random stuff today. Random stuff. A day in the life of the speaker, because Jeff is here with me at my home in Austin. He's traveling through Texas doing his speeches to schools and groups.
You've got to tag me in this.
I have to tag you?
I think so I can share this.
Okay, let me see.
Otherwise, I got to go.
At Jeff. There you are right there.
Yeah.
At Jeff Yalden. Boom. How's that?
And then, let me see if I can share it that way. Otherwise, you go ahead. Yep. Go ahead.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Live broadcast. I'm here with Jeff Yalden.
That's good. So anyway, Jeff's traveling through Texas, and Jeff graced me with his presence here at my home. And so we thought we'd take a moment and redo the broadcast that we did the other day, and some other stuff, because some other stuff has happened that was cool. So that's cool. I happened to witness a call that Jeff made for a potential client, and I overheard some things, and I wanted to talk about those because it applies in his business. But I thought it also applied in any business, really, about how to sell yourself, how to sell your services, how to sell your product. So Jeff is a speaker. The thing that he has to sell is time for a speech in front of a school and a school audience. But what is he really selling? So anytime you're in a sales environment, you have the thing that you sell, and then you have what you're really selling. And do you want to tag me in that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So a couple of good things. So let's just start off with the premise here, right? First of all, Jeff got here this morning because he was, you were at a...
I was at Uvalde School District in Uvalde, Texas, southwest San Antonio. I had a great visit. This is a community that has been struggling. They've had 4 suicides in the past year, 2 in the past month and a half. And they've kind of reached out to me a few times, have come to see me talk, and yes, it was a great visit.
And then, so, I guess keeping confidentiality and names safe and sacred and such, can you give us an overview of what you had to deal with yesterday and last night, and then the result this morning of the situation?
Well, yeah, I think this is going back to what you alluded to earlier, like a sales conversation. Am I leading towards that? Okay.
Yeah.
So I go into school communities and do a lot of crisis intervention, suicide prevention, giving hope to the hopeless. And so yesterday afternoon, an individual wanted to come and talk and share the person's story, and it became a crisis situation involving a gun, drugs, and our concern was if the police were involved, this is going to be, he was going to prison. It was that significant. And
young man, 17 years old?
Young man, 17 years old. And here's what's really important. I had that defining moment with a young man that didn't want help, but yet he's kind of reaching out asking for help, but was very stoic and I don't want any freebies. I don't need help. I'm going to do it on my own. And I said to him, son, let me tell you something. You're on the fence of life. You're about to make a decision right here, right now, where if you listen to me, I in the school community can help you. Or your ego is going to continue to get in the way? And I said to him, I said, you ain't going to live till 25. And tears in his eyes, after our conversation, he gets up, I open the door, told him I'm proud of him, but ultimately the decision was his. We got to that point after an hour, and he looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, I will never forget you. And so, to make a long story short, did everything we could, liability, our ethics. We got his phone number. We reached out to him last night. We couldn't get a hold of him. We tried to reach out to the family. They wouldn't accept any phone calls. I shared with Paul the email this morning. We ended up calling the police. And the police have him because he got arrested at 1 o'clock in the morning for armed robbery with a pistol, and 2 younger people, armed robbery and assault. He's now in prison. And here's the thing. That moment was a defining moment where he could have accepted help, or the path he didn't want to go. He chose that path. And within hours, his life could have took a sharp turn, Paul, for the worst.
It's a serious moment. I mean, a serious event. And, you know, it's got to be a roller coaster. It's got to be a roller coaster of emotions to go in and want to help, you know, these kids in school. And then, you know, things like this happen. And, I mean, I know you take your work seriously. I don't know that I know of anybody that takes their work more seriously than you do. At an emotional level, I should say, you know, just deeply emotional level in your work. But, you know, it's about making a difference. And in this case, it was about rescue, potential rescue.
I think, Paul, it's about planting seeds. And I think for everybody, you, myself, whoever might be listening, what are they doing in their life that they're passionate about, that is meaningful to them, and they feel like their purpose is being lived? I love what I do. And I think a lot of it is because I live, I understand, I get it. But I think we need to let our audience know that if you're not doing something that you're really passionate about, it doesn't fulfill you, you're probably not doing what you ought to be doing. And so, yeah, I am passionate about it. I love it. I get paid for it. And we make a difference.
Yep, exactly. So then that led to a call that I witnessed this morning. Some of it, I was in and out. And you were trying to, I guess, I don't want to say pitch or sell, because it didn't feel like a pitch. It didn't feel like a sale to me. It's just like you were presenting yourself to another school for a future speaking engagement. And I mean, I only heard your half of the story, your side of the conversation, but I could tell there were some great questions that were asked of you, and that you asked great questions of the people on the conference call. So first of all, let's start off with the question that was asked of you. Apparently this was some administrators, some teachers, and some students that were interviewing you in a conference call?
Yeah, there's about 13 people. It was a superintendent up in Wisconsin, teachers, administration, and about 6 student leaders. They've had 7 suicides in the past year. Rarely do I get interviewed like this, but I'm going to tell you, I really appreciated it because it reminded me of the important work that I'm doing. And it also, I was really excited about their questions, their passion. And I'll tell you, the best question that was asked was, Jeff, how are you going to tailor your message and make our community unique? And that came from a sophomore. And I was like thrown back. I was like, wow. And as I'm sitting here now, it's like, you can't take your job for granted. You get a paycheck, You get to go serve a purpose, provide a service, a product. And when you start taking things for granted, I don't think you're where you need to be doing the job you're doing. That was one question, and I don't really think it's about selling, because when you're dealing with crisis, listen, I don't want to sell. I want to serve. And so we had an amazing conversation. Amazing.
And the part that I heard was you asking a couple of questions to draw them out, which I thought was good. So I'm gonna repeat the way I heard it. And the first question that I heard was, what do I have to do to make my day with you not just memorable, but something you will never forget?
Yeah.
So I don't think any of us go into a sales situation asking that question, but that's a great question. What do I have to do to make your experience buying whatever the best experience of your life, the most memorable, the thing that's going to transform you, the thing that's going to set your life apart? Tell me what I have to do to make you happy, beyond happy. What was the response to that? Do you remember what their answer was to you?
I don't know if I necessarily remember the response, but I think there was a lot of thought and reflection. When I got off the phone with the superintendent and the team, he applauded my passion, my heart, and my caring for them. But I mean, what do you want to call it, Paul? Was it customer service? Was it promising on the expectations? He said to me, he said, Jeff, listen, we need help, and I don't want to bring the sizzle, I want to bring the steak. Mm-hmm. And I loved it, because listen, whatever we're doing, people don't want the textbook, the research, the statistics. They want to know that you're committed, that you're real, that you're going to be present, and that you're going to deliver on whatever you're promising. So if you're selling auto parts, if you're selling finances, if you're selling real estate, whatever it is, you have to let them know you're committed to serving them. You're committed, real estate, to, if there's a problem such as a light bulb, you're going to be there right away and you're going to fix it. Mm-hmm. Washer dryer goes down, lights or the door, anything. They need to know that you're there.
They need to know you're serious about it. They need to know you seriously care about them and their end result and their result.
Well, I'll tell you, there's another thing, Paul. For everyone listening, whether it's real estate or my work with mental health and communities, in all relationships, there's two questions that you have to answer every day. Your husband might ask this of you, your wife might, your teacher, if you're a student watching this, or your kids, your coach, who, it doesn't matter. Me, Paul, friends. Two questions. Can I trust you? And do you care about me?
And that question, those two questions come up all the time. Like, you can't assume the answer to those questions. Right? So I'm rereading the 4 agreements, and one of them is don't assume anything. Right? So don't assume.
Hey, Dr. Elias Ortiz. That's my doctor in Mexico.
Oh, hey,
Doctor.
How you doing?
How are you, sir? Great to see you. All right. I'm sorry. That was my doctor in Mexico.
Well,
love that guy.
Do that too. Then, hey, Patricia, my sister, how are you? Good to see you in San Antonio.
Good deal.
No, but seriously, so every day you get to ask yourself that question: am I bringing value? What do I have to do to please you? Right? But it has to come from a place of sincerity. You can't just ask the question and then fill in the blanks. It has to be from a place of sincerity.
You have to listen. I don't think it's about selling. I think selling is about relationships.
Sure. Yeah.
You're selling a friendship, you're selling a product, you're selling a service. But if people are going to buy from you, they're going to buy based on how they feel about you.
Right.
So if they know you care, they trust that they can trust you, I think you're going to move yourself to the top before anybody else. But you're right. It's got to be it's got to be from your heart. You got to be sincere. If they sense you're chasing the money and the number, they're not a number. It's a relationship.
Exactly. I'm looking at some of the people logging onto to my live here. Ed, what's up, Big Ed? Chuck, what's up, Chuck? Michelle, Wilbert. These are all people that I know, and they are experts at building relationships.
I hope they agree with me, because if they don't,
They are.
don't comment bad.
Keep it good.
But I think that the expert on relationships comes as a result of knowing that whatever product or service I don't even want to call it sell it, whatever we're doing, we realize that our success is based on that relationship that we're creating and also cultivating every day.
Every day. And it feels that just popped up, see that?
Yeah.
That you get those all the time.
I get it every day.
So
I'll respond in a second.
now I forget what I was going to say, because that felt serious.
Kind of hits you, huh?
Yeah, that felt serious. Okay. What was I going to say?
Well, that's another thing, Paul, for your audience. Know that when you are talking to someone in that relationship, you don't know what they're going through.
Right.
So part of it is you can't assume, but trust that in you being genuine, in you being real, you're empathetic, you're compassionate, you know you have a product or service that they need. When that sincerity in you, that sincerity in the message that you just saw, everybody has a story, everybody is struggling.
Yep.
And that is all about that trust and that I care about you.
Yeah, so true. And then that's why people come to you in the first place, and that's why they keep coming back to you. Just, it's the trust, respect, the rapport. I saw a thing on Facebook a day or two ago about this guy that was going on college campuses, and he was trying to pick up girls. And I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean that in a good way. Like, he was trying to date girls, and his line was, "Hey, I like you." And the girls, it just opened them up for conversation. "Hey, what's your name?" "I like you." And then they just responded, right? Because people want to be liked, they want to be trusted, they want to feel trust, and so that built trust, right? And then you just get their number, and I don't know what he did with it after it, but the test was, "I like you."
It was more genuine than saying, "Hey, you from Tennessee?"
Yeah, how about your digits? What's your sign?
Right, because then they're more like, "Oh," versus, "Hey, I like you." Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're talking to people like in the manner in which you're talking about, people, not only do they feel the trust and the sincerity, but they feel like you're on their side and that you like them.
Absolutely.
Right? And if this guy likes me, I think we can work together.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that you have to come from a place of you have to have done some work. You have to have done your own work to be able to come from that place.
Absolutely.
You've done the linear work. I read the books. I did the seminars. I did the outlines. I watched the videos. Now I'm ready to go into the world. That's only going to get you like to this level, right? Maybe.
Yeah, but I think to go from this level we're talking to this level, that's also about being sincere, non-judgmental. In that conversation, you're listening and you're present, making eye contact, whereas a lot of salespeople are kind of listening to think about what they have to say next. And sometimes it's not really about what you have to say, but you're listening more to
what's not being said.
Yeah.
What's not being said, what's missing, what are they leaving out because they're too shy, too afraid, too vulnerable to disclose that?
Or what is their number one desire and priority more so than the product serving them? It could be the customer service. So what are you listening to?
I mean, anybody could buy a talk.
Sure. And there's a lot of us that just talk.
You can buy a talk. Okay.
Anybody can talk.
Yeah.
We're talking now.
So people could just buy a talk, but they're trying to buy. And I don't think sometimes they even know what they're trying to buy. They're trying to buy a feeling, but I don't think they know what that feeling is. And in the case of the communities that you've been into, where there's suicide, there's death, there's these traumatic events, what are they trying to really buy? I even hate saying that word, but what are they trying to get?
Well, that conversation I just had with 13 people, superintendent, principal, a couple teachers, maybe a parent, 5, 6 kids. So there's a whole range of people. And although it wasn't about me having to sell, I mean, it was, but were they buying? When you have 7 suicides in a year, I don't know if it's necessarily they're buying as much as they're saying, we're about to make a decision that could change the course and the climate of our school. I think a lot of it was a feeling and it was a feeling and a together decision based on what they heard and what they felt as a result of that 30, 40-minute conversation.
Yeah. I remember years ago I heard Tony Robbins say, we do things to either avoid pain or pursue pleasure. So in that case, I guess they would be wanting to avoid the pain of those events happening again in that community.
Yeah, and the principal said that.
Perfect. And then they would want to be gaining the comfort, the solace.
It's okay as we move forward.
Yep.
And we don't revisit this necessarily.
Yep.
But sometimes in order to grow, you have to do what's uncomfortable.
I like that line. You said that earlier. What did you say?
Nothing changes if nothing changes. It's me, you, everyone here. What is your fear? What do you need to work on? And are you willing to address that?
That's where the real work is.
Oh, yeah.
That's the real work. I mean, anybody can teach.
Well, let's avoid pain.
Yeah.
But sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. But you have to be open and willing. It's vulnerability. You got to be vulnerable to grow.
Yeah. And that's tough. Like people in our age group, that's because I'm sure you were too. I was taught, be tough, don't cry, gut it up, don't be a sissy. And all that translates into a man's world of don't be vulnerable, don't expose yourself, wall up, protect yourself. And so when you're having a conversation, and that projects out, when you're having a conversation with somebody, if I haven't done the work and I'm walled up, I'm protected, I'm sealed off, you're only going to get this far, you're not going to get this far, that projects out, and it's very hard to convince somebody to be vulnerable, to be expressive when you yourself are not.
Right. Well, I think, and you and I were talking before all this about 10 years ago and what we've gone through, where we are, where we're going, and how we're doing. You and I, we're going to do yoga in a couple of hours. I feel more of a manly man, in the fact that I'm able to share with you my successes and my failures, highs, the lows, the ups and the downs, because I'm no more concerned about you looking at me and saying, oh, I bet Jeff lives in a nice home, makes a lot of money. That stuff's like not important anymore. I'm the healthiest I've ever been, and I think a lot of that is because I have inner validation now, where I think many of us, we're still searching for that meaning and understanding, the validation from other people.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be, but you got to do the work.
It's a great place to be. And I don't know about you, but I find that I got to keep going back to that place.
Oh, yeah.
You miss a couple of days for whatever reason, it's like, what the is wrong, right? Well, I didn't do my meditation. Oh, I didn't do my whatever work it is that you do. For me, it's my meditation and my yoga. I don't stay after my meditation and my yoga. I can, in 3 or 4 days, be a mess. I've had employees tell me, you need to go do the yoga. I'm like, why? I feel great. No, you need to go do the yoga, because they see the difference.
In the mental health world, they call that, what is your self-care plan?
Yeah.
And so the yoga and the meditation, the routine, the structure, because again, sales, real estate, you can't pour from an empty pitcher. You can't spend from an empty bank account, drive on an empty gas tank. So if you're doing the work, self-care first, then the day you're able to put your emotions into something because you filled your tank first. And you can't say, well, I'm too busy with work. I'm a mother or father. I've got my kids and commitments. That's selfish. No, that is healthy living, so you can be the best significant other, husband, wife, salesperson. If you don't take care of this, ain't none of this matters.
Right. And I heard you also talk about meditation. You lead people in meditation, or you give them a meditation, little meditation teaching.
Yeah, schools. Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you, in my work, when I go into school communities, and kids on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being high anxiety and 1 being low, our young people are living at a 6, 7, 8 every day. And so if you're on 24/7, 365, it's everything. It's physical, emotional, the spiritual, their financial, their now social media and the internet. So I think it's important to start teaching mindfulness and meditation every day. And that's just the Ujjayi breath. Put the phone down and just get present with your breath. And then you're burning the toxins that are in your body, so that stress and anxiety goes from an 8 down to a 4, 3. And the more you do it, the more relaxed you are.
Right. And
I can't wait to yoga today.
Oh, it's going to be great. And then you go into whatever you're going into present. Right. So some people say, look, I don't know, for some reason I have a couple of clients right now, and they express that they're in overwhelm. Okay? Mm-hmm. It's common. You're in business. It's common to feel overwhelmed. I get it. So what's the solution to overwhelm? Some people will say create a list, a to-do list. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check it off. I'll make sure everything's done. I'll stay out of overwhelm. I disagree. The list doesn't come until after you've done the self-care. Because when you do your meditation in the morning, and you got to set up if you want to be real serious about your meditation, you have to set up a meditative area in your home. It could be just a corner. It could be just a place that you go to all the time. And it doesn't have to be fancy. It can be as plain as you want. But it's a place you go to all the time, because it sets you up for the meditative practice, the meditative exercise. Once you're and by the way, we're not talking meditating like the monks do.
We're not talking like the spirituality of it.
Right.
We're talking about the
being calm,
cleansing, present, engaging yourself.
Taking a breath, your Ujjayi breathing, or your Kapalabhati breathing, or your alternate nose. Some of those, right, that you can do, alternate nostril, Anuloma Viloma, so that's what that's called. So any of those kinds that circulate the air through you, your oxygen, feed oxygen to your brain, it calms you down. Then once you're in the calm meditative state, now you can put your daily plan into action.
Yeah.
And I don't think it comes before then. You can't say, I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, then meditate. It's the other way around. I'm going to meditate, I'm going to get calm, I'm going to get centered, I'm going to get grounded, and then I'm going to lay out the priorities of the day. That's how you stay out of overwhelm.
And part of that too is, I don't want the audience to think that we're talking meditation is like a full commitment of 15, 20, 30 minutes. I would want them to start at 30 seconds or 1 minute. And if the mind wanders, that's like the mindfulness. You recognize it and invite it back. It could be 5 minutes, 3 minutes. And then what is your self-care? Is it making a good breakfast? Mm-hmm. Is it reading, journaling? Maybe is it exercising? One of the things I love doing, I love going to the gym, getting on the treadmill. And on the treadmill, I'll do 3 or 5 miles. I'll watch Sports Center, catch up on that while I'm exercising. Or I might get on my phone then and do my to-do list. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking clearly. I'm thinking about what I have to do, my priority commitments, and writing it down. Boom, I'm ready to go. Now I own the day. The day doesn't own me.
That's the point right there.
And that's why that's the meditation, the self-care, because you're not. A lot of people get up in the morning. What's the first thing they do? Oh, what's going on in the world? Yeah. And all of a sudden it's like, oh gosh, I'm late for work now because you've been on stuff that doesn't matter. Get up in the morning, have your routine, your structure, your discipline. Don't even turn your cell phone on for at least 2 hours after you're up.
Yeah.
Because you want to own the day. Don't let the day or the people own you.
The phone writing. Boom. Right.